You know, MJ, it's easy to take for granted that you can go to the grocery store anytime you want and get some fresh dill or any other kind of fresh vegetables you want. But can you imagine living someplace where the only selection would be at a convenience store?
I can't even fathom it, but we are going to visit a community up in North Denver where that's exactly what's happened. But there's a very special group of people that are making that all change. Let's visit Grow Haus.
My name's Kobe Gould. I'm Executive Director of the Grow Haus, nonprofit indoor urban farm and education center here in Elyria, Swansea. We are developing an indoor farm, as you can see around me, a marketplace to serve the community here, as well as ongoing education around nutrition, food access, food justice, healthy living, and those sorts of things. This neighborhood of Elyria, Swansea is one that's historically been sort of blighted and has a history of being mixed with industry. So there's both residential and industry. It's actually one of the oldest neighborhoods in the Front Range. There's I-70 just to the south, I-25 to the west. There's railroad tracks that come through, a lack of sidewalks, a lack of street lamps, and also a lack of grocery stores, anywhere to get fresh vegetables. We're about 2.5 miles from the closest full-service grocery store, which makes us what's termed a food desert. So what we're trying to do is create the infrastructure right here where it's needed most to grow the food and then eventually sell and distribute the food through a marketplace to this community. So what we have here is aquaponics. What aquaponics is it's a system of growing fish and plants together. So you have the fish in a tank in the water. The fish obviously eat lots of food and then they poop. And the poop in the water is then filtered into the beds and acts as a natural fertilizer for the plants. Meanwhile, the plants filter the poop and send it back clean with the water to the fish. So it's this neat closed loop cycle. It uses about 1/10 of the water of backyard soil-based agriculture. You're only replacing water in the system for evaporation. We've noticed that what's growing in here grows about 2 to 4 times faster than the plants that we have in soil-based growing. So it really takes up a great amount of nutrients. And this is sort of something you can pop up in your backyard as well if you have a little greenhouse and do your own version of aquaponics. Some of the other things that we're doing here in the Grow Haus farm, we have worm bins. We do vermicomposting. They're worms called red wrigglers from South America. And they travel side to side and eat through mostly finished compost and produce this really nutrient-rich compost that we use to amend our soil. You can also run some of the compost in water and get what's called compost tea, which you spray, and it's a natural fertilizer for plants as well as a pesticide. Also in this space we have microgreens. We grow microgreens, which are just the starts of plants. They're very small, and then you cut them and serve them oftentimes at nice restaurants. They put them on steaks or as a garnish on salads. And they're really flavorful as well as full of nutrients. They also sell at a premium, which is great as a way of offsetting our costs for the rest of the nonprofit. One final piece that's going on here in the Grow Haus space are our community plots. We've got several community plots that neighbors from the surrounding community come and tend to the plots. So they will, we provide the soil and the seeds, and they go ahead and just harvest from their plots the rest of the year so they can farm through the winter. Where we stand now is sort of really phase 1 of the build out. And this is about 5,000 square feet. It will be a hydroponics farm, which is water-based growing. We're actually excited to use a new technique that was developed in Spain called NGS, which is one of the first hydroponic systems that you can grow organically with. So we'll be growing organic produce, which is really great. We really wanted to, in the sake of sustainability and kind of keeping the history, keep as much of it intact while at the same time providing a new roof and a new skin. So behind us we have a wet wall, which will draw in cool, wet air through a vent, and then we've put in new roof panels as well. And then another interesting thing below us, you can see some of these black pipes that are sticking up. It's a climate battery, and it's a geothermal heat exchange. So throughout the summer, it draws the hot air off the top of the greenhouse, stores it underground in about 64 4-inch perforated tubes, and that stores in the soil. And then over the winter, you release that warm air and it heats the greenhouse. They say up to about 15 degrees you can use that heat, so before we even have to kick on the backup heaters. So it'll be a great way, fingers crossed how well it works, to naturally heat and cool the space without taking extra energy. This will be a space where we can really produce the sort of produce that we can put in the marketplace, sell to folks in the neighborhood, and then sell to restaurants as well to help offset the cost. There's obviously a lot more work to be done. As we phase out, you can kind of see the before and the after. But what we have planned for the rest of the space are a number of different renovations to the facility. One is a large-scale aquaponics system that will run the entire back end of the greenhouse. So this will be, again, sort of like the hydro farm, a commercial scale, larger aquaponics operation with large runs and tanks for fish. And that will really cover the back end of the greenhouse. Another expansion is on the south side of the greenhouse, we'll have an extension of Grow Haus, which is our education space where kids can come in and pull flowers and plant their own vegetables and get their hands dirty. We'll also have a little demonstration kitchen so folks can come in and do little cooking classes on the food that they're growing here. Maybe a little nursery of local produce, as well as community plots, community aquaponics plots. So the local high school and elementary school can come in and do science classes here. And speaking of classes, we already offer a number of classes. We currently have an 8-week summer youth program with about half youth from this area and half youth across Denver. We cover the range of nutrition, food access, how to get healthy food, where you get it, and then they actually get their hands dirty doing some of the organic growing techniques that we practice here. We also offer classes to the public. Once a month we have an Introduction to Aquaponics class. We do ongoing service learning workshops as well. So if you have a small group of students or a company that you work for, come in, do a little bit of education, and then lend a hand for a little while. And we offer 3-month internships for folks studying all sorts of different things depending on what people's skills and what they want to learn. So the website's www.thegrowhaus.com. And stay in touch and see how we grow.